Okay, in this video we're going to look at the univariate diagrams that we looked at in an earlier video, but we're going to extend them to think about how they could be adapted to include more than one variable. The kind of questions we're going to answer are, did those with family participating consume more or less sugar in January than those without family participating? And were there any differences in gender for the reason for people taking part? So when we looked at averages earlier, we saw that we can use a pivot table to compare the mean sugar intake for different subgroups. If we wanted to see whether those with friends or family taking part in sugar-free Feb consume more or less sugar in January, we could do this in a pivot table quite quickly. We could look at January sugar estimate. We can look at an average, and then we can split that by family and friends, and we've got our two averages there. However, seeing an average on its own, whether it's the mean, the median, on its own is very limiting, and we could get a much truer picture, a much fairer picture by comparing the two groups graphically, maybe in a box plot alongside each other. So let's do that in Plotly now. So if you head to plot.ly, and if you haven't done so already, I want you to create a Plotly account. Once you've done that, we're going to log in, and then we're going to upload our data set, just because it will make things much easier, much quicker to play around with if we have all of our data in there. Before you do that, make sure your data has been saved recently. Sometimes logging in takes a little while. And once you're in, head to My Files up in the top right corner here. Once you're in, click on Upload Data and Upload, and navigate to the most recent file that you've saved. Click on Open, and it will start uploading a file. Once it's finished uploading, it will say success. You can close that, and you might have to press F5 to refresh the page so that you can actually view what's been uploaded. The view will then show us quite a few sheets. It's imported every sheet that we have in our Excel file. The one that we want to use is the data one, so scroll to that one, hover over it and then tick, and then if you go to the top and click on Open, open in Plotly 1.0, we can then open Plotly, open that particular sheet, and then we can just create some graphs using that data. We can now choose any values to put in our box plot from any of the columns that we've got here. So let's choose January sugar. And what we're going to do next is split our box plot by group. Okay, in this column here, we can choose to split that by family, friends. Now, similarly to the mean, we can see that the median is higher for those who didn't have family or friends taking part. Remember, the pivot table showed us that the mean was higher for those without, and the median is higher too. But the box plot also shows us that there's quite a lot of overlap between these two groups. The box here is not far removed from this box over here. In contrast, if we were to split the box plots by gender, there's a much more stark difference here between males and females, one where I'd be much more confident in saying there is a significant difference between males and females sugar intake in January. Talking of significant differences, you will later on look at how you can do tests to decide with a certain level of confidence whether one group is truly higher than another. The scope of this, we're just going to kind of look at it by eye and go from there. You can compare more than two groups as well. If we would choose to split that by age, then we can see these different separate age bands here. Plotly seems to put these box plots in whatever order it likes, and I haven't worked out a way that you can change that order, but do feel free to have a play. So if you are trying to compare a group of averages, it will always be worth checking out the corresponding box plots to get a better sense of what's going on, because it can show you much more than just an average. We can also compare groups in a bar chart. Now, let's say we want to know the main reasons for people taking part in sugar-free Feb. We can set up a new pivot table to show us that. If we pop reasons in here, salutation in there, and we can easily enough copy that data and pop it into a bar chart. But what if we'd like to know if there are any differences in these reasons between the two genders? Now, if we drop gender into the columns box, we've split it by gender already. We've split these reasons for males and for females. We can see that 164 females took part due to friends, family, encouragement, as opposed to just 86 males. However, because we've got so many more females than we have males in our sample of 2000, this makes these quite difficult to interpret and compare. So what we can do, we can change these figures to what's called a column percentage. Now, if we right click, show values as percentage of column total, let's get rid of these decimals. What we've done here is we have said that what percentage of females took part due to friends, family, encouragement? 12%. What percentage of males took part due to friends and family encouragement? 14%. So actually it was a similar proportion for each gender taking part due to friends or family encouragement. Now if we copy and paste this into a new sheet, we call this reasons, right click, paste the values, and we can insert a comparative bar chart here. Now, if we go with this one here, we can get a really clear picture of the reasons for taking part broken down by gender. We can see that the biggest difference between the two genders is in doing something for charity. Now, a much higher proportion of females took part, about 30%, took part to do something for charity than males. On the other hand, a much higher proportion of males took part to see if they could do it. It's kind of almost a willpower test than females did. And so that is really useful to know. The idea of using column total percentages here is a really important one, so don't forget later on that is an option. And also don't forget that you could use a comparative bar chart to compare more than two groups if you wanted to, although be careful because it could get quite messy quite quickly if you have lots of different coloured bars here. Okay, have a go at these two exercises. This one here is particularly tricky, and then compare your answers to the solutions and then have a go at the next video.